if you're eating these healthy foods to lose weight, they may actually be making you gain weight instead. I've made this mistake for several years until I figured out what I was doing wrong. So if that is something of you eating healthier foods but feeling like you're not getting towards your weight goals that you're trying to get to, in today's video I'm going over the worst healthy foods to eat for weight loss and what to eat instead. And the funny thing is, there's going to be a pattern that you notice. So the first one is breakfast bars. When I started paying more attention to the breakfast bars that I was getting and looking at the ingredients in them, I realized that they were not as healthy as they claimed to be. So one thing that I noticed with some of the breakfast bars that I would get was realizing how much sugar was actually in them. So I'm still trying to learn grams of sugar. Like, it's like the tablespoon, teaspoon, grams ratio. Like, I'm still not there yet of learning that. I feel like that is something of learning for another day. But what I do look at to make my life easier is I look at how many times sugar is mentioned in the ingredients and if it is in the first part of the ingredients list. So what I learned is that the first couple of ingredients that's listed in the ingredients tab is what consists of majority of what's in that item. So if I see sugar as like number 2 or 3 on the ingredients tab, I usually don't end up getting it and I just look for something else. But one thing that I do look at is to see how many times sugar is mentioned in the ingredients. So if it says sucrose and then maltose and then it says dextrose, anything where it says oats multiple times and then it has maple syrup and then honey and then other forms of sugar, once it mentions sugar way too many times for my liking, I then look for something else. This is actually a perfect example of something I most likely won't get in the future, and it's probably why I still have it, because this one, the first ingredient is peanuts, which is fine, but the second ingredient is glucose syrup, sugar, then honey, then oil. And I'm like, this is not as healthy because although it has like the nuts and it has like the chocolate and it looks healthy, the second ingredient is sugar, the third ingredient is sugar, the fourth ingredient is oil. So when it comes to certain types of breakfast bars, really look at the ingredients in it. Don't just look at the pretty little label that they have and them telling you that it's 7 grams of protein. Instead, just go straight to the back and just look at how many times it has sugar in it. I feel like that's easier for me to monitor how much sugar I'm taking in as opposed to the percentage in the grams part, just because I still haven't just figured out what exactly is a good number for me to stay under. And I just feel like it's way too overwhelming to pay attention to, but in the ingredients, it's easier for me to pay attention to because I know that if it's in the first part of the ingredients and is mentioned multiple times, it has a high percentage of it. But I do like Larabar because I enjoy their ingredients a lot. And then for this one, the ingredients is dates, peanuts, and sea salt. I don't eat them as often. I really only eat this when I'm traveling and there's really no other options available for me. And it's healthier for me to eat this than to eat a croissant. But another brand that I thoroughly love is JoJo's. So even though they both, well, I think Larabar is better just because it has dates as opposed to it saying sugar in the ingredient, and it's just only 3 simple ingredients. So I feel like this is probably the healthiest out of all the bars that I get. Lately, what I also have been doing is just making my own types of, not bars, but I make like protein little bites. So if you're someone who tends to buy breakfast bars, one thing that may be contributing to you not being able to lose weight is the type of breakfast bars that you're getting. So one thing to start with is look for one with more natural ingredients and whole ingredients, and then one with lesser amount of ingredients, or making your own. Another healthy food is oatmeal. So I grew up having like the maple and brown sugar, the apple and cinnamon. And to me, I always thought oatmeal was healthy. Turns out when you get the box oatmeal, it tends to have a lot of sugar in it. That is why you don't usually need to add as much sugar. But I learned that when I was getting the box oatmeal, I didn't realize like paying attention to how much sugar is in the maple and brown sugar or how much sugar is in the apple and cinnamon. And then so one thing that I did instead was just get the rolled oats and made it myself. Ever since I've gotten rolled oats, I no longer make oatmeal. I started making overnight oats, which was pretty pretty good, and then over time I just didn't like it. So one thing that I just do now when it comes to my rolled oats is I either just add it to my smoothie or I make oat bites, but I don't really make oatmeal anymore just because I realize like how much sweetener I would have to add to it in order for it to taste even remotely close to the boxed oatmeal. So if you're someone who's been eating boxed oatmeal, instead of getting boxed oatmeal, get the bag of rolled oats. And it's also beneficial because when you have the boxed oatmeal, it also has like other ingredients in it. But when you get the bag of rolled oats, it only has the rolled oats in it. And you're also able to play around with variety of how to make different recipes from it. The next item is salad dressings. Until I went vegan back in 2019, I didn't really pay attention to ingredients in salad dressing. To me, I'm like, if I'm already eating a salad, leave me alone with the dressing. And then when I started looking for vegan salad dressings at the time, I couldn't really find any good one. And the ones that I was buying, I just didn't like the taste of it. And for a time with certain salads, I was able to have a vinaigrette, but then not all the time does a vinaigrette work with a salad. And I became annoyed because then I started eating salads less because I didn't want a salad and then have to have a vinaigrette salad dressing when I really wanted a creamy dressing. So now what I do is instead of buying any type of creamy dressing where it has all of these weird ingredients in it, I now instead just make my own to where it just consists of mayonnaise, sriracha, and some lemon juice. And it's 10 times healthier because I know what I'm putting in it, and it tends to have healthier ingredients in that version as opposed to the store-bought version. And it's also cheaper because with the healthier ones, they tend to be more pricey, and I'm not spending $9+ on a salad dressing. Miss me with that one. But if you just use the items that you tend to probably already have in your house, you can now just make your own dressing, and it's a shorter list of ingredients as opposed to the salad dressings at the store. Another healthy food that's most likely going against your weight goals is certain peanut butters. Growing up, peanut butter was one of my favorite foods, but I stopped eating it because it was annoying me on every time when I would put it on bread, and then it would literally break the bread. And so I just stopped having it. But then when I started introducing peanut butter again, and I was like making like peanut butter banana smoothies, I found that my smoothies were so sweet. And I wasn't paying attention to the things that I was adding to it that had sugar in it already. And so instead of having something that was healthy, I was just having something that was super sweet. And one thing that I started looking at was the type of peanut butter that I was getting. So I grew up on, I think like Skippy's peanut butter, and then the one with the nuts in it. And then today, now the only peanut butter that I get is Justin's. And I just get the classic Justin's peanut butter where the ingredients is peanuts, some oil, and some salt. When you look at certain peanut butters, a lot of them have so much sugar in it so unnecessarily, and I'm a huge fan of, I shouldn't have extra stuff in an item where it doesn't require extra stuff in it. And peanut butter is one of those things where it can be healthy, but depending on the type of brand that you get of it, it could then end up being extremely unhealthy. So if you're someone who really enjoys peanut butter, really look at the type of brand that you're getting when it comes to that. I personally just stick to Justin's now. I feel like it is really good of a brand and it has what I need and no more, no less. So back in like 2022-ish, I want to say, I was really working on trying to incorporate more gut health foods back into my diet because I really didn't have that much. Like I wasn't eating kimchi, I wasn't eating sauerkraut, I wasn't really eating yogurt that much. So I was like, you know what, let me just add kombucha to my diet. Like it's a fizzy drink, I like the taste of it, and it's a healthy gut health drink. Then, I don't know if I must have been watching something, but then I realized how much sugar is in a lot of these kombuchas. I don't even drink kombucha anymore because I only found like 1 or 2 brands that I really like, and then usually they're never on sale, and they're just like $3-4 for like a thin container. But when it comes to certain types of kombuchas, they contain so much sugar to where it goes against what you're trying to do. So it makes no sense of me having this gut health food that I'm trying to incorporate into my diet, but then because of the sugar, it now basically destroys the good health that I'm trying to build up. And then I'm also now gaining weight because it's just nothing but sugar. So one thing, if you're someone who is trying to increase your gut health and you've been drinking a lot of kombucha, is to look at the type of brand of kombucha that you're getting, because if you're having one where it has a high percentage of sugar in it, it's going to go against all the goals that you have for yourself. One thing that I like to do is, I think the easiest way is like going to like one of those really healthy stores like Whole Foods, and then taking a look at all the different types of kombuchas available, and then just looking at which one has the least amount of sugar. If this one has lower amount of sugar, then you put the one back that has higher amount of sugar, and then pick up another brand, and then look at which one has the higher amount of sugar and then put that one back as well. And then you have one that works for you. If something like kombucha works with you, incorporating more gut health into your diet, I would say just look at the different types of brands of kombucha all at once, and then decide on which brand you're okay with having, and making sure that it's a lower amount of sugar in it than the type of brand that you're possibly getting now. Speaking of gut health, this actually brings me back to another one, which is flavored yogurt. So I was never a yogurt person growing up. I hated yogurt. Like I hated even the Go-Gurt. Ugh, I hated it. But again, as I was trying to incorporate more gut health foods, because I realized kombucha was no longer an option, I was looking for other gut health foods that I could incorporate into my diet. And another thing that I was like, you know what, let me try is having yogurt. So my mom would get like these flavored yogurts of like blueberry, strawberry, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I would have it, and I'm like, you know what, this is manageable. But then I find out that it's literally sugar in them. And it makes sense because they're flavored, so hence they probably would have sugar in it. So one thing that I had noticed is that I still wasn't getting towards like any type of improvement with my weight until I just stopped having flavored yogurt and instead switching to a plain Greek yogurt. And then when I was plant-based for a while, then I would get like the plain plant-based yogurt, and then I would just add fruits to it. That is something that has been thoroughly beneficial, of instead of getting some type of flavored yogurt to where it has a lot of sugar in it, to then get some plain Greek yogurt to where the sugar is much less, and then adding fruits to it for that flavor profile. And when it comes to yogurt, another thing is granola. So this is all one big gut health now yogurt section. Like for me to have yogurt, I have to have granola. I cannot have granola. I was gonna say I can't have one without the other, but I could definitely have granola by itself. But I can't have yogurt without granola. I've tried it before and it's just not that great. So when I have my yogurt, I always like having granola with it. And one thing that I used to do was I used to just scan for whichever granola was on sale, and I would just scan for whichever one looked more appealing to me and then pick that one up. But then I started paying attention to the ingredients in the granolas, and I'm like, this is, I don't know what this is, but this is not granola. And it would just have like a whole bunch of stuff in it and then a high amount of sugar in it as well. So one granola that I just stick to now is either making my own granola when I have the time, which is so like good. Like when you make your own granola, it just tastes so much better and lighter, and I don't know, it just, I really love when I make my own granola because it just tastes so much better. But when I don't have a chance to make my own granola, one brand that I just stick to religiously now is Purely Elizabeth. Now I do think the sugar is still a bit high, but when it comes to the ingredients in it, it is so much better than a lot of the other ingredients in other granolas, and it has ingredients that you recognize. So when it comes to granola, look at the type of granola that you're getting, not just picking up one that's on sale and not just picking up one that looks the most appealing or says it has all these things. Look at the ingredients in it, because when it comes to Purely Elizabeth, I really like that one because I know those ingredients and I don't have to like second guess like what exactly am I eating, and I feel like it tends to have a lower amount of sugar than other types of brands. And the last food is probably the worst one for weight loss, because I used to think that this was so healthy. I'm like, this should be healthy. This is healthy because it has this and it has this. And it is bottled smoothies. I was on this kick of like drinking like the naked smoothies because it had like, it would tell you all of the fruits in it, like the strawberries, bananas, blackberries, raspberries. And I'm like, yes, I have a fruit smoothie. I have my fruit for the day and I'm good. The issue is the amount of sugar in these drinks. So it's just really frustrating because when you're someone like really trying to work on eating healthier and buying healthier things, and you're spending money on something that you think is actually healthier and they're more pricier than other things that are around, it really becomes annoying when I find out that they're not even as healthy as what I was getting before, because it just looks prettier, it looks healthier, it says healthier things on it, but the ingredients just it's not as healthy as it makes it seem. So one thing I used to get before was bottled smoothies, because especially if I was on the go, like it was easy for me to just like pick that up and then pick up like a little breakfast bar and then just have that and then feel like I was eating something healthy. But then what I wasn't paying attention to was how much sugar I was actually eating and how unhealthy these things actually were. So one thing when it comes to bottled smoothies, instead of just getting those, I started to just like, if I was in New York, I would just end up getting the smoothie made at behind the counter, but then even those became pricey and I have no idea how much those are now. So what I just do now is just make my own smoothie at home. I never buy any bottled smoothies, and it's a tremendous difference from when you buy smoothies to when you make smoothies, because when you buy smoothies, they want you to keep making sure you buy it. So if it tastes nasty and bland, you're not going to want to come back and buy that again. But if it has all these extra sweetness in it, but they just promote the fact that it has like a lot of fruit in it, you're going to think you're having something healthy and it's a win-win for everyone, when really it's a win for them and a loss for you, because you're not taking into consideration that you're probably just taking in a lot of sugar. So that is my list of the worst healthy foods to eat for weight loss. Definitely let me know in the comments which ones stood out to you. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.